So you're thinking about moving to Bend, Oregon, and you want to keep your finger on the pulse of the market. Maybe you're a couple weeks out, maybe you're a couple of months out, maybe you're a year out. Doesn't matter to us, but you want to make sure you're keeping up with the current state of the market here in Bend and Central Oregon. Well, that's exactly what we're going to be covering in today's video. Today is the November version of our monthly update regarding the Central Oregon real estate market. So if this video sounds like it's for you, stick around. We're going to be getting after this market update right now. Hey, if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living, eating, sleeping, working, playing, the good and the bad of living in Bend and surrounding Central Oregon, then subscribe to the channel. Tap that notification bell below so you can be the first to know about the current market here in Bend and Central Oregon. My name's Ryan, and I've lived in Bend for over 30 years. My business partner, Zach, and I, we get calls and texts every day from people just like you, looking for help on making their smooth move to Bend or anywhere else here in sunny, yes, still sunny in November, Central Oregon. Whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or even set up a Zoom. We have a Calendly link up in the banner of our channel and in every video comment section. So schedule a Calendly meeting with us and we can set up a Zoom meeting at your convenience. Now let's get into this market update video as it relates to the month of November 2023. So like I said in the intro video, we're getting into the later stages of the year right now. Things kind of slow down typically, especially around the holiday season, but there is still some market activity going on here in Bend and Central Oregon. So what we're going to do now, we get our monthly beacon report every single first week of new months, and it goes back into the previous month. So basically the data that we're going to be looking at here today, it relates to the month of October. That's everything that's happened, closed, etc. in the month of October and going back beyond for the rest of this year. So what we'll do is we'll share the screen right now and we can just get after it right now. This is the beacon report right here. You guys are able to go to the beacon report and just type it into a Google search bar and you can access this thing anytime you want to. But this is fun for us to do a little market recap every single month because it's so telling with where the state of the market is here in Bend and Central Oregon. So I'll scroll down here and we'll just get off to the races. Here you can see we're starting as of November 7th. This is what our median home price is going to be here in town. We tapered back a little bit from the month before that in September, and so we're sitting at $735,000 right now in Bend for our median home price. So prices are still relatively high right now. There's a lot of activity going on right now. There's still plenty of houses that are moving, even though we are down almost 40% from this time last year as it relates to our total volume of sales. And so that was a very interesting thing that I learned just a couple days ago on a Zoom meeting as it relates to our current real estate market. We had over 1,000 homes sell in quarter number 3 of 2022, and now we're sitting at just under 700. So almost 40% has gone down in terms of the volume of sales, but we are still seeing prices stay relatively close to that all-time high. As you can see, we did experience our all-time high back in July of this year at $800,000, and we've been teetering up above $700,000 now since, and the months before that. So basically what we've been seeing over the last 6 months is our median home price is right at about $750,000 as an average. And so if we were to scale back a year, we would see that our previous all-time high was in the 773 range, 770 respectively in March and April of 2022. And then we've been basically kind of beelining it in the mid to high sixes and then back up for the summer up to $800,000 as our new all-time established high. But what that is saying to us right now is that there's still demand for the homes in the Bend market right now. There's a lot of people that are moving in from out of the area. We get a lot of calls from people just like you that are coming in from out of the area, and they have a certain expectation level, whether they're coming from the San Franciscos or the LAs or the Texases, or just somewhere up here in the Northwest like Seattle, where the median home price is still actually higher than it is here in Bend. So when clients will come down from Seattle, or they'll come up from the San Francisco Bay Area or from the Southern California area, and they are looking at homes, what they see they compare the current homes they see here in town versus the homes that they would be down in their respective areas, or whether they're up in Seattle. And they kind of decide for themselves, like, okay, the value of this home is still better in terms of the price point than if I were to pay for this exact same home in a similar style neighborhood in Seattle or in San Francisco or down in the LA area. So that's what's happening right now. Median days on market, what we've seen here is that it's still relatively short when it comes to getting a home that's appropriately priced under contract. And we'll get to that in just a second. But what we can see here is the total volume of sales for the month of November or October is going to be 121. So interest rates are high. They're historically high over the last 20 to 25 years. If we were to zoom out over the last 50 or 60 years, they're probably right at average. 8%, just under 8% as of this recording right here. So if we were to scale back 20 years, yes, this seems very high. And for newer home buyers, first-time home buyers, this is a historic high for them because they've never been in the market before. But other generations that are a little bit more experienced when it relates to buying and selling real estate, they can scale back to the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and they can say to themselves, okay, we've seen these types of interest rates before. But what we're seeing as a response to that with our market is that, yes, we had 172 home sales back in June of this year, and they've kind of crept down ever since. And that's by design. That's been the point of having these higher interest rates in place, is to slow down the real estate market and the activity. We are seeing that. If we were to compare October of 2023 to October 2022, what we have here is 160 sales versus 121 sales. So obviously a noticeable difference there. If we were to go back yet another year, we had 210 sales in October of 2021. So a noticeable difference when it comes to the respective months that we're looking at as they relate to home sales in the Bend market. If we continue scrolling down, what we'll see here soon is the days on market on average, median days on market, is still right where it's been basically all year. 17, okay? 17 for 2 months in a row now, and 16 for the month before that. It's been pretty flat line. When a home is appropriately priced, it's going to sell in the Bend market at a relatively quick rate. We can scale back here to February of 2023. That's when things were really holding up. Median days on market was 51, and that was a result of what happened the months previous leading up to that moment. I think it was a big shock when rates went up to 5.5% to 6% going back a year ago. But if we scale back and we looked at it today, we'd be thinking to ourselves, okay, 5.5% or 6% is a great deal. I think that's the direction that we're going to be going right now. We have our 8% in. We're not sure if it's going to go up higher. It might go up a little higher, but ultimately what's happening is that we're having a sentiment change in the market. We're going to look at 6%, 6.5%, 7.5% rates in a different light in, say, 6 months or 12 months from now than we are today. Right now, it seems daunting. Like, there's no way I can buy a house at this rate. But if we continue scaling up a little bit further, establish that baseline as maybe the new local high for interest rates, and then we start to creep back down, then all of a sudden the market sentiment's going to change, and that 7%, that 6.5%, that 6% rate will feel like a whole different number as it relates to people going out and seeking financing, because they'll think to themselves, well, I'm glad I waited instead of getting qualified at 8%. Now I can go ahead and get qualified at 6.5% or 7%. And if you did buy at 8%, guess what? You have the opportunity to refinance to a lower rate if that's something that you so choose to do. So if we continue moving on here, we will scroll down, and what we're going to get here are building permits. Okay, building permits are still getting taken out in the city of Bend right now, 50 and 51 respectively for the last 2 months. So there is still plenty of building activity going on. And if we were to continue scrolling down, what we see here are conventional versus cash transactions. You can look at those numbers right now and you get a feel for where we're at. But ultimately, this whole entire graph here goes back roughly 36 months. So you get a feel for what the sentiment of the Bend market has been looking like over the last 3 years. Obviously, a lot of ebb and flow, right? There's been so many things that have changed from a macro standpoint that we ultimately have no control over. So all we can do is use our sound judgment and make the best decision that's possible for us in the situation that we're in. Month supply, again, it is steadfast at 2 months straight. And if you scale back all the way, say 24 months or so, it's still relatively consistent at about 2 months. Only if you go beyond that 24 months where you look at where we were at during that certain pandemic period in 2020 and 2021, do you see that the massive activity that was going on where we had less than 1 month of supply in our inventory. So pretty crazy there, but ultimately right now it's steady at 2 months. We kind of want to see a little bit higher of a number there, maybe 3 months or 4 months, but Bend is still very high in demand and there's a lot of activity. So when you see homes that come on the market that sit for say 60 days, 70 days, 80 days, all of a sudden they see a price reduction by the realtor and the owner and the seller of that home. And then typically they get a lot more attention and then they get swooped up relatively quickly if that price reduction puts the home into a more appropriate price point. So pretty interesting stuff, but there is always going to be demand for wanting to live here in Bend and Central Oregon. Median price per square foot, $367. Okay, if we were to scroll down, we'll get into the Redmond area here, and we'll do the exact same thing. Again, Redmond, second largest town in the Central Oregon area. It's growing at a very similar rate that Bend is, but it's much more cost feasible, a little bit more affordable. There's still all of the sunshine, all of the wonderful days of weather, all the outdoor amenities that we have at our disposal in our back doorstep that Redmond has, that Bend has. It's all interchangeable. Bend is only about 15 miles to the south of Redmond. And so what we have here is Redmond, a much more affordable area for anybody that's looking to get into the Central Oregon area. A little bit different style of town, maybe a little bit slower pace, but ultimately Bend and Redmond are kind of one and the same right now. There is a lot of traffic on a daily basis that goes from Redmond to Bend and vice versa. And keep in mind, our airport is over in Redmond, as is our fairgrounds. So it's kind of the central hub of Central Oregon. We could see in 20 or 30 or 40 years that Redmond could overtake Bend in terms of population. Who knows? Stranger things have happened, but I digress. Let's jump into the numbers right now to get you guys a feel for what's going on in the current real estate market in Redmond, Oregon. Right now, we have a median home price of $520,000. Okay, it actually ticked up a bit. And what's interesting here is that we are starting to get back in to those all-time high numbers for Redmond. Now, Bend exceeded its previous all-time high of May of 2022 in the summer there this past summer by getting up to 800,000. Redmond didn't do that, right? So Redmond's all-time high still remains at 542,000, which was seen in August of 2022. And now we have had our little dip. Just about every real estate market in the country had a little dip right after that going into last fall. And then it bottomed out and it's made basically a very steady incline upwards in terms of its median home price over the last 6 to 12 months. And we are at a new local all-time high, which is $520,000 as of this recording, which is pretty interesting. So Redmond, again, is staying pat. It's staying strong. Ultimately, the smaller market areas in the Central Oregon area are seeing much more of a decline in their median home price right now. The Madresses, the Prinevilles, Sisters, a lot more fluctuation, and partly due to the fact that there's such a smaller amount of volume that moves on a monthly basis, whether it's 20 homes or less for some of those markets, Lapine included. Whereas Redmond still, with their 36 to 40,000 people, we still see a relatively stable volume of homes that are moving on a monthly basis. It's going to be smaller than Bend because Redmond is about 3 or 4 times this smaller than Bend, but what we're seeing is still a decent amount of volume in terms of homes that are moving on a monthly basis. We had 41 last month. And again, with those rates rising, the goal in general is to see a slower pace of moving homes. And that's what we're seeing. If we go back to June of this year, 74 were moved in that month, and now we're all the way down to 41. So we are seeing that decrease in volume of sales, but ultimately the price points, if they are appropriate, they're still going to remain and stabilize the market. And that's what we're seeing here with Redmond in the same manner that we're seeing that with Bend. Okay, days on market, a little bit interesting here. So while we're going up in median home value and home price at $520,000, what we are seeing is that homes are staying on the market a little bit longer. So whether they're priced appropriately initially, or it takes a couple weeks of being on the market before we see a price reduction, that's what we're kind of seeing and noticing right now with the current state of the Redmond market. And so 34 days on market is the average days right now, or the median days on market for Redmond and their homes in the real estate market. If we continue to scroll down here, what we'll see is, okay, conventional versus cash transactions. You guys can see those numbers here. Building permits is still ticking up in Redmond as it is in Bend. In fact, Redmond almost has as many building permits last month taken out as Bend did, 32 versus 51 respectively. So Redmond is still budding, it's still growing at a pretty good rate, and it will continue to grow because there's so many people that come to the Central Oregon area knowing they want to be here. They just don't know exactly where they want to be. So Bend is an option, Redmond's an option, Sisters is an option, Prineville's an option. We have a lot of out-of-area clients right now that are learning about the area in general, and then they decide where they want to be after they spend some time doing their due diligence on the overall area of Central Oregon. So they just got to find what a good fit for them is. We've got multiple clients right now we've had Zoom calls with, and they end up talking to us through the computer. Then they come up and visit us. We drive them around town. We show them the areas that they're interested in based off of that initial consultation over Zoom, and then we pinpoint the locations that they're really interested in, and then we can really hone in on the search. And they have desire or goals to move here, whether it's early next year or the springtime, maybe Q2 of next year, something along those lines. But we have plans in place right now. And so we keep our finger on the pulse of the market as it relates to the clients and their specific needs and desires when they get here, so they make the right decision the first time upon arrival. And that's kind of the unique thing about what Zach and I do, is that we are doing these videos in the format that we're doing them right now, where we're mostly out in the field just trying to show you guys the area that is Central Oregon, and giving all of our clients that are watching us from afar a real bird's eye perspective and a real boots on the ground style perspective of what Bend and Central Oregon is all about. So then when we do meet, we have a better idea as to where we need to go, what we need to show them. And it really saves a lot of time for the client, especially when they're trying to make that transition from where they're at to where they're going to be here in Central Oregon. So pretty exciting stuff here. We continue on here looking at some of these numbers. We see that $278 is the current median price per square foot for Redmond homes. And then if we scroll down here, we'll wrap up the video. Just looking at Sisters here, like I talked about earlier, there's just not a lot of volume that sells in towns like Sisters. It's a beautiful area. There's probably 3,000 to 5,000 people in the surrounding Sisters area. But again, monthly report, we had 11 sales last month, right? So the median home price went down to $670,000. That's just based off of 11 sales. So that could go all the way back up to $850 next month if there's 10 more sales, just at a higher price point. Just kind of varies. Sun River, 12 sales last month. We had 7 in La Pine. We had 6 in Jefferson County altogether. So again, the primary areas where people are moving to in Central Oregon are going to be Bend and Redmond. And then we've got the smaller towns in the area that people flock to if they're looking for a little bit slower of a pace of life, or if they're looking for something that's just something that only like a Sisters or a Prineville can offer that otherwise Bend or Redmond can't, with like the hustle and the bustle of the big city, right? I mean, that's the big city. Those are the 2 big cities in our area here. But yeah, so that should hopefully give you guys a perspective on what's going on here in the Bend and Central Oregon area as it relates to the second month of quarter number 2. That's November here. We're getting into the holiday season right now, so should be interesting to see. Maybe things will slow down even a little bit more just for the interim, just because people get kind of distracted with the holiday stuff coming up. But if you guys are in the market right now, please reach out to us. Let us know what else we can cover as far as the videos go. But if it's your time to call us, please do so. Give us a call, shoot us a text, set up the Zoom meeting via the Calendly link. So reach out to us via Calendly. We'll set up a meeting via Zoom, and then we can be off to the races to help you guys start that home search so we find you the right place the first time. So again, my name's Ryan, licensed broker with eXp Realty. Zach is the exact same thing, a licensed broker with eXp Realty. We love what we're doing with these videos here. We're so thankful for your support. If you haven't done so yet, just maybe like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we can just plan on seeing you guys soon, whether it's on a Zoom meeting or if it's a call or a text. But thank you so much for the support on the channel, and we will see you guys on the next video out in the field. Thanks, and have a great day.